All right. Hey, thanks so much for coming tonight. We know this is it's going to be a lot of information, so I want to first let you know that everything that you see tonight will be recorded, and so you'll be able to replay that, and it'll be posted on our website. My name is Ryan Geist. I am the assistant principal here. I work with our student services teams, and one of those members is Blythe Masura, who oversees our College and Career Center. So that's located in the library. So again, any information you see tonight, if you think about any follow-up questions or anything you may want to ask, you can make sure you give that to your kids, or you can give Blythe Masura a call themselves. They can go down to the College and Career Center. She's always willing to make appointments, meet with kids, and answer any questions they may have as well. We know paying for college is not easy to do, and it's unfortunately very complicated sometimes with the FAFSA process and so forth. So we're hoping to make that a little more understandable tonight. And so with that, we're going to welcome Emily. There you go, Emily. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. My name is Emily Coveney. I work for the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC. My information is up there. It will also be on the final slide, so you can use my email, that phone number, to send me any questions you might have. Today, we're going to be talking about the financial aid process, and I'm going to give you a general overview of what that entails. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so here's a little bit about ISAC. So we are the state agency. We administer different scholarships, grants, things like that. And then our mission statement is to make education beyond high school accessible and affordable. Now getting into it, you guys probably going to have a lot of questions. As I said, this is a general overview. So rather than getting into the specifics of it or your personal situations, we're going to save those for the end. You can come and talk to me afterward or send me an email. All right, so at ISAC, when we're talking about college, we're talking about anything post-high school. So anything post-high school could entail vocational or trade schools, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, or your master's degree. So the vocational trade schools and the associate's degrees, those are found at the local community colleges, and those are typically up to 2 years. But that's just to say, anything post-high school, even if it's a certificate and not a bachelor's degree, that counts as college. So what exactly is financial aid? This is money coming from multiple different sources, some of them private, some of them public, sometimes the government, but it's money that is used to help pay for college. So sometimes it can be given to you, so we're going to talk about gift aid. Sometimes it's borrowed, that would be student loans, or sometimes it's earned. We'll be talking about that in the following slides. So this is a chart that breaks down essentially what is the cost of attendance, or the COA. So this is that number when you Google how much a school costs, you're going to get hit with a really big number. Sometimes it's 60,000, sometimes a little bit lower, but it's typically a large number. But this is to show you what falls within that number. So when they come up with that, they're talking about direct expenses. So that is money you pay directly to the school. Or there's indirect expenses. So this can fluctuate depending on your situation. So this is also to say that not everyone is paying that cost of attendance or that COA that you see when you Google a school. Within that, the direct expenses can be tuition and fees, living expenses. If you're living on campus in a dorm, that could be a direct expense to the school. But the indirect expenses are money it costs you to go to college, but not necessarily money that you're paying to the school. So depending on your situation, that is going to fluctuate. So an indirect expense could be if you're living off campus in a dorm, or maybe you're living at home and commuting to school. And then books, course materials, transportation, miscellaneous, all of those are indirect, but all of that is going to equal the cost of attendance. So there are different types of financial aid. One of the big ones is gift aid. This is money that is given to you. It's a gift and you don't have to pay it back. So this is typically the best type of financial aid that you can get. So within gift aid, there are different grants. They could be merit-based grants. They could be athletic. They can be need-based, so financial need. Then there are scholarships. So these can be awarded for many, many different reasons. When we're talking to students about scholarships, we always say look local, ask your counselor for the local scholarships just because there's a smaller applicant pool. But all that is to say, all of that is gift aid. So it's free money given to you that you do not have to pay back. Then on the other side of it, there is self-help aid. So this money must be earned or repaid. By earned money, this is federal work study. So this is going to be a campus-based program. If you're not sure that the college you're applying to has federal work study, you have to reach out to them and ask. It's campus specific. Most of them have it, but federal work study is just an on-campus job. So that federal work study money that you get can go directly into your pocket like a normal job, or it can just go directly to the school and the student doesn't even see that money, but it can go directly towards their tuition. What makes it better than a normal, just part-time job is that the money that you get from federal work study does not have to go onto your FAFSA. So you might be eligible for more need-based grant money. So that money that you get from federal work study does not have to go on your FAFSA, but if you were to have a part-time job at McDonald's, the money that you are earning, even as a student, has to be listed on your FAFSA. So that is federal work study. Then there are loans. So when you are applying for the FAFSA, you are applying for loans. You are not committing to go to college and you are not committing to take out loans, but you are applying for federal student loans. That money has to be repaid. There are multiple different sources of financial aid. The biggest source of financial aid is the federal government or the U.S. Department of Education. That is the department that makes and distributes the FAFSA. Then in the state, there is ISAC. So we have our own source of financial aid, and the way you apply for one of the ISAC grants is to apply for the FAFSA. I will get into that in the following slides. Colleges, universities. If you know what college you want to go to or you're interested, make sure you're checking out their specific website and you look for their specific scholarships if they have any. I know University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign has quite an extensive list of all the scholarships that they offer. That is an institutional form of financial aid. So then there's private sources. So that's anything else that doesn't fit into this category. Private scholarships, local, through the church, something like that. Sallie Mae is a private loan option, but that is another source of financial aid. Federal gift aid. When you are applying to the FAFSA, you are applying for federal student loans, but you're also applying for federal gift aid, meaning the federal Pell Grant. You can use that at any college in the U.S., so that is not just limited to Illinois. That is need-based, so it's parents' financial need, and it is up to $7,395. It goes up and down a little bit every year, but it's going to be about the same for the following year. Then there's FSEOG, so Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, also campus-based, meaning if you are interested in that grant, you have to check if the specific college has it, but you're using the FAFSA to apply for that. So that is going to range from $100 to $4,000. Then there's also federal self-help aid. So the federal government, we already talked about, they have federal work study, and they're using your FAFSA to determine if you're eligible for that. You still have to go out and apply for a job, interview for the job. It doesn't mean you automatically get a job handed to you, but it's an on-campus job. Then there's federal subsidized loans and federal unsubsidized loans. So federal subsidized loans are need-based, and the student is always responsible for repaying, and the federal government pays the interest while in school. What that means, that for federal subsidized loans, if the student takes out $1,000 in federal subsidized loans, by the time they graduate, it will still be $1,000. On the other hand, federal unsubsidized loans, if you take out $1,000 in unsubsidized loans, it will be a little bit more than that because the interest is going to be going up while the student is in school. That is the difference between those two. You apply for them by filling out the FAFSA. You do not have to take them out even if you fill out the FAFSA and are awarded these. That comes later. Then there's Parent Plus or Graduate Plus loans. These are separate from the FAFSA. It's a 2-page form on Federal Student Aid's website. These are something that sometimes people do extra based on what the college is offering them. If it doesn't cover the whole thing, some people look into taking out Parent Plus loans. The graduate student is always responsible for repaying these loans. So you want to make sure you're evaluating your loan options. So that is, once the student has applied to a college, gotten in, sent them their FAFSA, they are going to get a federal financial aid award package. So that's going to break down the how much it's going to cost for them to go to school and the different types of loans. So make sure you know the loans you're taking out. Is it a federal loan? Did you use the FAFSA to apply for it? Or is it a private loan? Did you go outside of the FAFSA, something like Sallie Mae? know the variable or know the interest rate. Is it a variable or is it fixed? So is it going to stay the same or is it going to fluctuate? And then what is the grace period? So the grace period refers to the period of time where you don't have to repay loans. So after you fill out the FAFSA and you possibly take out federal subsidized or subsidized loans, you have a 6-month grace period. That means 6 months after you graduate or you drop out for whatever reason, you have a 6-month period before the student has to start repaying those loans. Then in Illinois, we have some Illinois gift aid. All of these are also going to be on our website. So for the sake of time, I can't go through the eligibility criteria for all of them, but they are on our website, and there will be a link for that within these slides. But for the first one, the MAP grant, the application for that is the FAFSA. So that is for Illinois students who have gone to Illinois high school for at least 3 years and then are planning to go to an Illinois college. It doesn't have to be a public college, but it does have to be a school in Illinois. It's to incentivize students to stay here and go to college here. So the MAP grant, the application is the FAFSA, and that is up to $8,064. You can't use that for anything within the cost of attendance, unlike the federal Pell Grant, but you can use this for tuition and fees. That means that if you have a really high room and board within that cost of attendance, you can't use the MAP grant to cover the room and board. It can only cover tuition and fees. Then the Illinois Veterans Grant, Illinois National Guard Grant, and then we also have grant for dependents of police, fire, and correctional officers. For that one, that police, fire, or correctional officer has to have been 90% disabled or killed in the line of duty for a student to be eligible for that. Again, all of these are going to be on our website, so if based on the title, if you're interested or want to know more, go to our site or reach out to me, and I can explain them to you. We have a lot of different programs for students who want to be teachers. These programs are really good for students who are certain they want to go into teaching. And if that student really knows they want to go into teaching, I would direct them directly to our site, or I would have them reach out to me and we could go through these different ISAC teaching programs. And then the Teach Grant is the federal teaching program. But as you can see, all of them are a little bit different, but most of them say if teaching requirements aren't met, this money converts into a loan. So what I mean by that is that if the student doesn't follow the teaching requirements, meaning they don't teach in Illinois for a certain amount of years after graduating, the money that they took out for these waivers or scholarships will just turn into a loan. That's why it is very good for students who know and are certain they want to go into teaching. Here are the big grants. So when the student is applying for the FAFSA, they're applying for these big grants and then federal student loans. Doesn't mean they're going to get them, but you never know how much money you're going to get until you apply for the FAFSA. This is just to show you that you can be eligible for up to $15,000 in gift aid, meaning money that you don't have to pay back. Here's a general overview of the financial aid process. So the first one is you're completing the FAFSA. The FAFSA is going to open hopefully October 1st. So if you're a junior in high school right now, you're going to be a senior next year, you are doing the FAFSA as soon as possible after it opens. That is because the money that you might be eligible for can run out. So if you know you're probably going to get the MAP grant based on financial need, then you want to make sure you're filling out the FAFSA. So it opens October 1st, so you're filling out that application. You're completing verification if selected. So that means that the colleges are emailing the students. They don't email the parents. Federal student aid does not email the student. It's the colleges. The colleges will email the student if the student is selected for verification. What that means is that they have to verify what they put on the FAFSA is correct. So it could be a copy of the 1040, it could be a W-2, whatever the college asks for. That is the verification process. Receive and review financial aid offers. So you don't get a financial aid offer unless you have applied and gotten into the college. So once you apply and get into the college and send them your FAFSA, they then give you a breakdown of how much it's going to cost for the student to go to that school. Typically, they send those out in the spring, giving the student enough time to make a decision before decision day. Make a decision, respond to colleges, tell them yes or no if you're going to attend, complete pending processes, and then repeat these each year. Each year you're going to be in college, the student is renewing their FAFSA. Hopefully it will open October 1st every year, and you will do the FAFSA. So kind of already went over that, but for step one, you're completing the free application for federal student aid, so it's in the name. If you're on a site where they're asking for money, you're on the wrong website. I believe there is a FAFSA.com, so you want to make sure you're on FAFSA.gov or studentaid.gov. Yeah, kind of already says that. So then you can see under there, there's the alternative application for Illinois financial aid. So this is for students who cannot get federal money because they are undocumented. So undocumented students in Illinois are eligible for the MAP grant, and they would use the alternative application to apply. No student is doing both the alternative application and the FAFSA. If you're documented, you're just doing the FAFSA. If you're undocumented, you're looking at the Illinois alternative application. Then there's other forms. So some schools might ask for the CSS profile. That's going to be dependent on the school. But you're going to check their website and see if they require that. And then other forms could be used to apply for institutional aid. Okay, so before you do the FAFSA, you want to make sure you have the correct information. So for this FAFSA, it will be the 2024 tax returns. That's what they're going to be using. So you're going to need those tax returns. It's going to be the W-2s, banking statements. They're going to want to know about investments, if the student has college savings plans in their name. Those are going on the FAFSA. You're also going to need your social security number if you're a student and you have one. You're going to need that, or the alien registration number if you have that, and then FSA IDs. So students and parents need their own. An FSA ID is not an ID number that you get sent. It is an account. So it's an email and a password that you're using to apply for the FAFSA. Parents need their own, students need their own. So this is for the FSA ID. I kind of already said this, but it's a username and a password, and students and parents need their own. You can create one at studentaid.gov/FSAID. You can create this at any time. It's going to follow you for life because it's tied to your social. So if you're a student who's taking out loans, you're going to be using your FSA ID to repay these loans back once you graduate. So you need to make one before you can do the FAFSA. You can't make an FSA ID and do the FAFSA in the same day. That's because it has to verify your identity. It takes about 1 to 3 days. But if you try and do it in the same day, it just won't work. You'll run into glitches. So you can do this at any point. I always recommend you do it before the FAFSA opens. Parent info. So most students report parent info until the age of 24, even if the student doesn't live with the parent. So for purposes of the FAFSA, what they define as a parent is pretty limited. It is only a biological, adoptive, or step parent, only if they're married to that biological or adopted parent. Any of those other ones, legal guardians, foster parents, grandparents, friends, or siblings, or anyone, even if they're claiming the student on their taxes, does not count as a parent for the FAFSA, and therefore does not go anywhere on the FAFSA. So when you're a student and you're looking for which parent you're supposed to report, it kind of gives you a breakdown, and the FAFSA in the form itself will also give the student a breakdown of how it works. So if the biological parents are married, you would say yes or no. If they are married and they filed jointly, only one parent needs an account. But if you're married and you don't file your taxes together, both parents need an account. If they're unmarried but they live together, both parents need their own account. If they are divorced, it is the student, or it is the parent who's providing the most financial support for the student in the past 12 months as of the date you're filling out the FAFSA. If you can't figure that out and you say it's 50-50, then you have to report the parent with the higher income and assets. There are multiple different sections of the FAFSA. So when you log in, the student logs in with their own account. They fill out their portion. So the student fills out their portion, what college they want to go to or send their FAFSA to, all their other information, the college savings plans they might have. Then it will ask for the parent's information, parent or contributor. This is why the parent needs their own FSA ID, because the student is going to be inputting that information, the parent information in, and sending their parent an invite. So if the parent doesn't have their own account, the invite doesn't have anywhere to go. So then they finish their part and the parent signs in. It does the parent section. Oh, the alternative app is patterned after the FAFSA, so it's going to be pretty much the same. Again, this is the form for undocumented students. Okay, then getting into it, at the end of it, you're using your FSA ID to sign it. You're just clicking a checkbox to sign it, but you have to have an FSA ID in order to sign the FAFSA. After that happens, after it's been processed, the student will get a SAI number, or it'll be the student aid index. So the application will calculate your student aid index, and if you file FAFSA, you'll see it on the confirmation page. And then it reflects what you can contribute towards your education. So it doesn't mean that it's a number like 1,000. That doesn't mean you're going to owe $1,000 to the college. It's more of a score, and that score determines how much money colleges might give you, how much money you might receive in aid. So that is the Student Aid Index. Again, kind of already talked about it, but this is the verification process. It's not scary. They just need to know that what the student is putting on their FAFSA is true, and it doesn't come from federal student aid. It comes from the colleges. So if you sent your FAFSA to University of Illinois, they might email the student. They will not reach out to the parent, and they will say, we need to verify the information on your FAFSA. Then you're going to receive and review offers. Again, you can't get an offer unless you've applied to the college. So you can send the college your FAFSA, and if you don't ever apply, they're just not going to do anything with it. So there's no harm in sending a college your FAFSA, but you need to have applied in order to know actually how much they're going to offer you in aid, and how much you're actually going to get in aid and how much it's going to cost you to go to that college. So this is the formula they use to determine your financial need. So they're taking the cost of the college or the COA, and then they're subtracting your SAI, and then it's going to determine that's how much financial need you need to go to the school. After that, you want to make sure you're analyzing your financial aid offers. So here are some things to consider: deadlines for accepting and declining offers. So sometimes it goes to the student's email and the parents don't see it. So they're not going to send financial aid offers to the parent's email. They send them to the student, either through email, student portal, or directly through the mail. And there sometimes is a deadline. So if you don't respond right away, they can rescind the offer and not offer it to you anymore. Make sure you're looking at the different types of aid included. So are they giving you a lot of scholarships? Are they giving you a lot of grants? Or is a lot of it out-of-pocket cost? Then make sure you pay attention to the student loan types and interest rates. So make sure you're checking if it's subsidized or unsubsidized loans. And then, do you have to meet conditions? So does the student have to maintain a certain GPA, or will they take away that scholarship? So those are things to know. And then, are they renewable? Sometimes colleges will offer a lot of freshman scholarship, so those are not renewable. So make sure you're looking into actually what the college is offering you, and then comparing and contrasting your different financial aid offers. This chart is just to show you that despite the different college COAs, so the cost of attendance, being very different, that SAI will remain the same. That OFA is other financial assistance. So they just include that. That could be if you went out and got $5,000 of your own scholarship and things like that. But that is just to show you that the SAI, no matter what, that is staying the same. Then after that, you're deciding and responding to the colleges. You want to make sure you respond to colleges, either yes or no. That's even if you don't want to go there, you want to make sure you say no. That way they can offer up the money that they were going to give to you and give it to another student. Complete all pending processes, so any forms that they require. Confirm you will intend, accept financial aid. That's when you accept the financial aid and you either accept or decline the student loan. So that will come much later. Again, a lot of people think the FAFSA is a commitment to take out loans. It is not. It is just an application to take out federal student loans. It is not a commitment. That will come later. And then you're going to check your college email, student account, to see if there's any other pending tasks needed. That is the financial aid process, and that student is doing it every year they're in school. Tips and reminders: you want to make sure you apply as soon as it becomes available. Also, to just get it out of the way. You don't want to wait until it's time to graduate and you still have to do your FAFSA. Also, again, I kind of already mentioned it, but the money can run out. So you want to make sure you're doing it as soon as possible. You don't have to fill it out the day it opens, because usually on October 1st, because there's a lot of people on the site, it might glitch on you. So you don't have to fill it out the exact day it opens. You just want to make sure you're aware it opens October 1st. Get it done when you can. Usually at the school, we have different financial aid workshops, or I come to the school multiple times a year and I assist students with it, and parents sometimes come in. So we offer that a lot, but those are usually in the fall or the winter, and they are free to complete. So make sure you're not sending anyone money to do the FAFSA or the alternative app. Make sure you're not on a website where they ask you to pay. That's FAFSA.com, I believe, will ask you to pay for it before you submit your FAFSA. That is the wrong website. Make sure you're looking, keeping track of the deadlines. That some schools could have a deadline, so if you know you want to wait and you don't want to do your FAFSA right away because you just don't have time, The college you're applying to, they might have a deadline. You need to do the FAFSA to graduate, so you might think your deadline is May, but some colleges do have a deadline well before that. So it's never too early to apply and look for scholarships, and then again, reapply each year you're in school. So this is the ISAC student portal. There will be a website link in the following slide. This is what it looks like, and this is where you can apply for the other ISAC grants and scholarships. So we talked a little bit about the MTI scholarships, so the teaching scholarships, the special education scholarships of veterans, and National Guard. So that is where the student would have to make an account, email, password, and apply for those on there. And then they would also check the status of it back on the ISAC student portal. And they just have different videos and things for college planning and financial aid tips, stuff like that. Okay, so here are some trusted websites. Student portal, isac.org, we already talked about that. Studentaid.gov, FAFSA.gov, those are the same site. You can go on there at any point and look at the site, make an FSA ID. You don't have to wait until you're a senior in high school to make your FSA ID. You can go home and make it at any point. If you're a parent and you have older students who have done the FAFSA, you probably already have an FSA ID. Then there's this, the alternative app. Again, that is for undocumented students. If that is your situation, you can reach out to me and I can go through that process with you. But no student is doing both the FAFSA and the alt app. It is one or the other. If you're documented, you're just doing the FAFSA. This is for the first generation students. So a first generation refers to a student if they are the first in their family to go to college, they are first gen. So at ISAC, we have a Scholars Network for them. It's not a scholarship, but they just have different information for first generation students, different programs for them going to college, things like that. Services are free, and there's a QR code for you to sign up. That is all I have, but my information is right there. You can reach out to me, email me with questions, or text that number with questions as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight. We will be sticking around, so please feel free to come on up, ask any questions you may. Again, I oversee the counselors, so I should be able to answer any questions from that perspective, and then also from the state and financial aid perspective. We're here for you, so again, thank you so much for coming tonight.